Sahana Bhavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So last time, this is chapter 5 of the Gita. Last time we completed verse 19, right? Where he talked about the evenness, samam, as being the spiritual yardstick. So what he said there is, Brahman is indeed spotless and equal. So to the extent your mind is even, peaceful, calm, spotless, whatever word you want to use for it, to that extent you are established in the self, spiritual. So this is a test, I told you. So as you grow spiritually, things which used to bother you, things which used to affect you, don't do so anymore, because you're established in these higher values of life that gives you peace, equanimity, and you let this world go by without, you do what you have to do, but you don't get caught up, you don't let it affect you. Remember early in the chapter he gave that beautiful example of the lotus leaf in water. It is unaffected by water, even though it lives, it's born, lives and dies in water. It's got the waterproof layer, every leaf. So that layer is the intellect, which keeps you insulated while you're in the world. So you get to that ultimate state, he says, even birth is overcome. So the reason we are born is because of this spiritual unfulfillment, which leads to desires, which lead to agitation. So if you can knock off this entire realm of this ego and desire, you overcome this cycle of birth and death. Therefore, they are established in Brahman. So beautifully he puts this across. To the extent you are even, you're established in the self. So that was 19. So any clarifications before we proceed? So the topic of this particular portion of the chapter 20 to 29 is titled Renunciation Precedes Meditation and Realization. Some of you may not be aware, I've told you, this is Swamiji's, my Guru's original contribution, where it's not there in the original Gita. Gita is divided originally into chapters, but each chapter, the verses have a particular flow of thought according to topic they're covering. So he's done that. So this chapter is divided into 4 topics, right? This is the 4th and final. Renunciation precedes meditation and realization. So that's why I recommend you get the book, the commentary by Swamiji, the Gita commentary. 20. Na prahrishye priyam prapya no dvijet prapya cha priyam sthira buddhira sammodha ब्रह्मविद् ब्रह्मणि स्थितः. With steady intellect, sthira buddhi, established in Brahman, the undeluded knower of Brahman neither rejoices on obtaining what is pleasant, nor grieves on obtaining what is unpleasant. So, what he's saying is, what is the internal condition of a spiritual seeker, advanced spiritual seeker, with reference to external conditions? So, what happens to us since you're dependent on the world? When you get something which you desire, your mind gets elated. And when you don't get something or something goes against your desires, your mind gets agitated. This is it. It's not the world that produces joy or sorrow. This is the fundamental teaching, right? It is your mind. So if you're smart, you will work on controlling your mind, not go on blaming world and external factors, because something else will come up. That's not a solution. It's like you have a boil or a growth on your skin and you put a pain lotion. It'll help you. But why has it come up? There's an infection in your system. You need to remove that. If you do this, it'll come up somewhere else. And that's exactly what's happening with the mind. Anything in the world from outside is just a balm, temporary. That disease of desires is there, again it'll come up somewhere. So, what is the test? The test of spiritual growth is you are peaceful within. You enjoy a superior level of happiness. Therefore, anything in the world from outside doesn't touch that. So, you don't get elated or dejected like the rest of the world. You may say, what's wrong in getting elated? It's temporary. The problem is you get attached to that. So you want more of it. And when it's not there, you're dejected. So you're constantly going up and down. Overall, there's not real peace in your life. So you have to shift the peace from outside to inside. There's no other way. And this will be the test. With steady intellect established in Brahman. How do you do it? Only when your intellect is powerful enough. He uses the word here. Buddhi, intellect, sthira, steady, focused. So when you are steady, you're focused on the higher, your mind becomes peaceful. So the external fluctuations don't bother you. So otherwise, everything will bother you. Because anything in the world, even if you have it, is subject to being taken away. You are subject to being taken away. Forget the world. Anytime. So if your focus is outside, you can never maintain that peace. It's not possible. So that's what he says, right? For him in vain the envious seasons roll, Coleridge, who bears eternal summer in his soul. So the seasons can go on rolling. You got summer inside, why are you bothered if it's winter outside? Oh, it's so cold. Last night was very cold. Now, what else will it be in winter? Why does it affect you inside? For him in vain the envious seasons roll, who bears eternal summer in his soul. So that's Vedanta. Otherwise, everything will bother you. Everything. Because there's no summer inside. So you're constantly dependent on external factors. You must write that down, etch it in your head. Why am I dependent on external factors for my internal happiness? The minute you really understand that, you'll become a philosopher. Why am I dependent on somebody else's mind, whether my son is disciplined or not, for my internal happiness? I have no control over that. Over my boss, over wealth even. You can do what you can, it can be taken away. So these are all tests of where you stand spiritually. And only when you're established in these tests can you aspire to enlightenment. That's what he's trying to say, which he'll get to now. So, any questions so far? Yes.
In this particular verse, it says knower of Brahman. So that means a person is already enlightened.
Knower of, yeah, see, it's relative and absolute, right? I told you. So, knower of Brahman is relative also to the extent you are attuned to Brahman. And knower of Brahman can mean enlightened, person who's actually become Brahman. So, both ways it's true. So, person who knows the self, it's like waking up from a dream. Why will the dream bother you? Last night's dream, something is happening. Is it bothering you right now? But while you were in it, remember that. How affected you were. You dreamt that you were in a terrible prison going through torture. And you were so affected there. Now, when you wake up, is it bothering you? What is happening? That is enlightenment, right? But relatively also, this should be your attitude. Now, why am I letting this world affect me? So, what do I need to do? Steady intellect, established in Brahman. You got to study, you got to reflect upon this great knowledge of Vedanta. That builds your intellect. Nobody does it unless it's too late. That's the problem. So Kabir says, Beet gaye din bhajan binare. See, all the days have passed without thinking of God, the self. This is the problem. Bal avastha, khel gavayo. So when you're a kid, you're completely attached to toys. Jab yauvan tab maan ghana re. And then when you're young, you're so arrogant. Maan ghana. I know what I'm doing. I know who I want to marry. You don't tell me what to do. I know where my life should be. I know what it is. This is arrogance of youth. When you're 20, can you even conceive that one day you'll be 50? You can't, it doesn't even cross your head. Hey, these old fellows. Now what happened? Before you know it, you're there. You can't, because it's all of us went through it. It's that man ghanare, he says. Ghana means too much. Man, arrogance. When you're yauvan, youth. La he karan mool gavayo. Because of this desire and attachment, mool, main part of your life is gava, you lost it. Ajuna gai man ki trishna re. Even if you lost it for a reason, even now is the same desires are there. My mind's desire has not gone. What have you achieved? Body is going to go. कहत कबीर सुनो भाई साधियो पार उतर गए संत जनारे. Go seek the saints who have crossed over to the other side. That's the only hope. So, other than that, you do everything. Right? That side, forget. This side itself, you want more. Grandchildren. Children is not enough. You know what they're doing. You know how brilliant he is. To every grandmother, the grandchild is Einstein. Duffer number one. Is Einstein to her. So, just can't get up from this slumber. So those of you who have some idea, it's going fast. Mool Gawai, all the capital is going. Your life. Wealth may be growing, life is going. What are you going to do with it? Huh? So work on getting established in Brahman. You have no other business in this world. Nothing else should matter to you. At least now wake up. Pratiksha.
Namaste, Gautam ji. My question is, as I'm become steadier and external factor doesn't bother me, how do I relate it with the people around me who doesn't have the same understanding and might misinterpret this as distance?
Yeah, this is a common question everybody has. If I am growing, what about others around me? See, if you are genuinely grown, you will relate to them how they can understand, right? You will relate to them as much as you're obliged to. So they shouldn't feel a difference. Why? See, it's like an adult. How does an adult relate to a child? You understand the child has small values. They like these cars and trinkets and all. You're grown above that, right? As an adult. So how do you relate? Do you tell children what is in toys? Why are you playing? You won't do that. You will go and play toys with them to the extent you're obliged to do so. Not beyond that. Beyond that, then you're a child. Then don't say, you understand? So, the way you relate to them is, what is my obligation? So, let's say you're married, your husband is not at all interested in this, and you are extremely interested. A common experience with a lot of you. Very privileged, or it's a great thing to have both the spouses interested. Not common. Always is one person far more interested. Now you created that obligation with that spouse, so you relate accordingly. You don't need to hear every morning, I love you, you love me, I love you. But that fellow needs to hear, so tell him, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. Just do that for him. Now why are you bothered? I don't believe in expression. The greater the emotion, the less the expression is what I've heard, which is true. You only need to hear I love you because you're not sure they love you. When you're sure they love you, why do you need to hear it? For what? You need constant reinforcement. You didn't say you love me. Because you didn't say it, stops or what? Now don't practice this, huh? I'll be in trouble. So, because nobody understands. So, you may not need this expression. Now, you understand you've created obligation, the other person needs. So, you do it for their sake. In fact, it's a service. Not out of ego, but out of understanding. You get it?
Yeah, thank you.
So, if you're trying to show I am a philosopher, I don't relate to all you, low, then you've not understood. So, it shouldn't happen. But if their demands are unreasonable and interfering with your path in life, then you have to make them aware that there are certain parameters. So Sunday morning they want you to go for a picnic. You say I'll come at 11 a.m. not at 10. That's not going to happen. So you plan your day around that. It's not that you won't go. Otherwise, you'll never achieve anything. Clear?
There is a question here. Yes.
Yeah, on a related note, like it becomes very difficult. You touched upon exactly that if their demands are impediment in my inner self.
Right.
So how do we communicate or how do we bring that? Because, like maybe your wife understands because now she's observing, but your child does not. And your one child understands, but your second child does not. Because that's exactly what I'm seeing in my home. And it just happens that one person, but second doesn't.
Right. So what you're asking is, it's difficult. One spouse may understand, the child may not, vice versa. See, as you grow with Vedanta, you understand whatever your obligations are, and you do it to the best of your capacity in a spirit of service without expecting anything in return. That is what happens. So you will try your best to cater to them. Now, beyond a reasonable amount, if they don't, you have to leave them alone. You can't go on catering to all their demands. Next thing you'll say, my son wants a Lamborghini. I can afford a Honda. What should I do? Say, you will get a Honda. That's it. That's all I can afford. You may not afford a Honda. Go by public transport. So you can't destroy your life for their whims and fancies. You understand? So this is where you have to learn to be strong. Otherwise, you don't achieve anything. Next thing you'll say, my son says, don't go to office. Stay with me, not today. You'll stay at home?
See, they are very smart.
No,
Money comes.
No, that is not the point. The point is it's not that they are smart. You are dumb. You understand? They are very smart shows you are dumb. When my children, they are very smart. They know when it's coming, because you are a goat. They know how to take advantage of you. They know which button to press. Mother doesn't react, father react. Father doesn't react, definitely grandmother. Food is not made, the whole plot plumps themselves. Because they know grandmother is a goat. Goat number one. She's going to feed and doesn't matter what. So it's not you, it's not they are smart, you're dumb. Because of attachment. I'm not joking. Because you're attached, you're weak. Anybody will take advantage. It's like your co-worker will take advantage if they know you're weak. They'll shift their work on you. So, because they know you can't say no. So, service doesn't mean you take anybody's nonsense. You decide what you ought to do, what ought to be done, who ought to be given or not given, and you stick to your principles. So, Vedanta makes you powerful. You serve, but you understand why you're doing it with intellect, not emotional. So, if a family member has unreasonable expectations, that's their problem. How does it become your problem? I can't understand that. You're doing the best you can. Beyond that, let them suffer. It's like I'm giving an extreme example so you understand. Your son asks for a sports car which you can't afford. Let him suffer. This is what you can afford to give him, right? One family I know for education, I told them, this is why you pay taxes in the state school. They got admission there. It's a nice school. And if they're really that brilliant, masters, let them, that time we'll see. Bachelor doesn't matter. Right? They don't go to college also doesn't matter. 6 out of the top 10 richest fellows didn't go to college or dropped out. You must have an intellect. Anyway, I'm not saying that. Okay, I told them, you can afford this. Tell them that. No, they got admission in this, but they're not giving that. And then I took a loan, and now the fellow is crying. Because they got the degree and they're living their life. Loan is in whose hands? Fellows, everything they're scraping to pay off. They don't care. They don't see that 10 years before. You don't care. You don't know family dynamics. I get a lecture. So there is no point. You will also understand this. The minute the sun comes in front of you, you will melt. So you got to work on your own conviction. So this is Vedanta. You've got to learn how to, this is clarity. Understand what ought to be done and how it ought to be done. You need a buddhi for that. Intellect. Saurabh.
Yeah, Hari Om Gadaji. So, my question related to study intellect established in Brahman. So, if that means person is fully convinced that he is self, and then he will basically keep his mind or his intellect on that study all the time. His intellect is working, and then control his mind all the time.
Yes, ultimately it boils down to that, but practically speaking, it means everything you do in life is geared towards attaining a higher purpose. If not, if he doesn't understand enlightenment, it will be self-development, right? What do I need to do to be a more evolved human being? Self-evolution, self-development. So like I've told you, whole day your attention at work will be how can I serve my clients, my patients, right? That's how it would manifest relatively. Like we were talking about the family. Your attention would be how best can I serve them? But there'll be no expectation in return. That is a spiritual person whose attention and interest always is upon their spiritual growth. It's not mechanically, I am Brahman, I am Brahman. That's how it's misinterpreted. That's why I'm again explaining how it applies in day-to-day living. Alright? So now these next three verses, 21, 22, 23, I would say crucial, one of the most important set of verses in the Gita, because he gives you the whole overview of the spiritual path, what is relative growth versus absolute, what is exactly the nature of this world, and where is the actual piece of effort that you have to put in 23. He gives that. So they're really very powerful and not that much known, but in terms of the content, you won't find anything more powerful in terms of, relatively understanding how life functions. So we'll go one by one. 21.
Bahyasparsheshvasatatma vindatyatmani yat sukham sabrahma yoga yuktatma sukhamakshayamashnuте.
Unattached to external contacts, Bahya Sparsha, one finds the happiness in the self. Uniting oneself to Brahman by yoga, Sukham Akshayam Ashnute, one attains the eternal bliss. So, we have constantly been talking about the relative and the absolute, right? The starting point is our real nature. Now, what you must analyze if your starting philosophy is, what is life all about? And the answer is simple. The whole human effort revolves around finding happiness. Everything we do, morning to night, birth to death, is nothing but the pursuit of happiness. And you get happiness in the world also. Person takes a drug for the first time. He gets tremendous happiness. But the problem is that happiness is temporary and is followed inevitably by sorrow. The two problems, which in fact he talks about in the next verse. And in fact, even that happiness with repeated contact goes away. It's a disaster. You have no idea. Any happiness in the world, first of all, it's temporary. It cannot satisfy you. Even that temporary happiness with repeated contact is diminishing return. It goes away. That's why people want variety in everything all the time. Whatever they have is not enough. So, what we are looking for is a happiness which is permanent and complete. And that is the state of enlightenment. What do you think is enlightenment? I don't know what you grown up or enlightenment, God realization. What is God? God is the highest thing you conceive, which is infinite happiness. Right? It's as simple as that. You can talk all and all you want about it. That's what is God for you, for me. Because that's the highest state we want. Right? Vedanta says that it's as simple as that. Brahman, once you unite yourself to Brahman, you attain eternal happiness. So, now what he's saying in the first part of the verse is unattached to external contacts, one finds happiness within oneself. And when you get to Brahman, you find that eternal happiness. So he's talking about two levels, which I've always been telling you all in different contexts. Here is the verse which spells it out. That to the extent you go within in the sense you try and find out who this person is, gain this knowledge, look within, to that extent you'll be happy. So Vedanta is not your unattaching from the world, you're losing out on worldly pleasure. In fact, you're gaining a higher pleasure within. So nobody understands it that way. That's the problem. They think Vedanta is to give up pleasures of the world. You cannot give up any pleasure unless you have a higher pleasure. Remember that. It's not possible. Like Schopenhauer says, it is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. It is no doubt difficult. That's the whole problem. That's why you don't do it. It's difficult in the beginning, but you can't do it anywhere else. Now, what to do? So, if you analyze what is sorrow, sorrow is nothing but unfulfilled desires. That is sorrow. What is sorrow or unhappiness, sadness? A desire that you have is unfulfilled. That's all it is. So, as long as your attention is outside, the nature of the mind is it goes on generating desires. You're always in sorrow. And the sorrow comes from the selfishness in the desire, not the desire. That also you should understand. So, when are you sorrowful? I am not getting this. What will happen to me? My family. So, it's the I and the my which produces sorrow. Something happening to your neighbor's son, are you bothered? But when it is my son, you're bothered. So, what is the sorrow? It's the I-ness, the mindness. So, friends, This is the simplest truth of life, but it's the most profound at the same time. If you're able to keep your mind on a thought which is not selfish, immediately that sorrow goes away. This is the secret. That's what he's saying here. Unattached to external contacts, one finds the happiness in the self. See, those days the people knew the self, what it means. The society was attuned to enlightenment as a goal. So they didn't have to say unselfishness all the time. But we have to say it now because nobody is attuned to the self. It has to be educated. So when you say in the self, it means either an unselfish goal or enlightenment. But what is the main requirement in both those goals, whether it's unselfish or the self? What is the main requirement?
Reduce the I.
Attention should not be on that I. That's the main thing. So either it can be on others or enlightenment. There are only two options. If it's not on you and yours, this is it. Unattached to external contacts, one finds the happiness within. And that happiness inspires you to go further till you hit Brahman through yoga. Yoga means the spiritual practice. Yoga, that which unites you to the self, which is karma, bhakti, jnana, the three yogas: action, devotion, knowledge. Not the asanas which you do in the morning. That's gym work, which is good. Real yoga. Yes, Parag.
Hariam Gautamji, I just wanted to see what happens as you gain knowledge. I find myself reacting to a situation where your natural instinct comes up. Say if you get angry at something when you see a situation. But after a while, when you think about it, the knowledge kicks in and says, that was a bad reaction. How do you train yourself so that you reverse the situation where you stay calm in a situation, you react based on your knowledge?
See, that depends upon the strength of your intellect. What happens is, at the time the anger comes, or that emotion, could be any emotion, it is too strong for your intellect to control. So after a while, when that emotion dies down, mind is dynamic. It's not one emotion all the time. When that emotion dies down, you're away from that situation. Your intellect comes back up again. At that time, you're able to think, right? See, it's like a person has a weakness for alcohol. In a bar, how can his intellect function? Because that environment has made his desire come up to full power. Intellect is not strong enough there to control it. But when he's away from the bar, at home, where there's no drinks around, then that desire for drinking is not up to full power. That time he can think. You understand? So obviously, this is a common experience, nothing to do with you. So the more powerful your intellect, the earlier it will manifest. In fact, there are 4 levels of intellect. Those of you who have not heard it before. The most powerful is, you're talking about second grade of intellect. Most powerful is even before the action, you know you're going to get angry. So you're well prepared. 30 years I've been getting angry at my wife for the same thing. Am I mad or what? It's taken 30 years for you to become sane. Insane. Every day fighting on the same thing. With the same person. This is not insanity, I don't know what it is. And then second grade intellect is when the emotion comes, your intellect surfaces. My God, why did I get angry? And shuts up, right? Shuts it down. Third grade intellect is what you're talking about. After the action is over, the intellect surfaces. But that's too late sometimes. Already you shouted at your boss, lost your job, I should not have shouted. What sense does it make? But even that is good because at least next time chances are you won't do it. What is fourth grade? Lowest intellect? After the action is over, there is no connection, understanding at all what I have done. Same thing you'll do again. So most people are 3.75. Almost 4. 0.25 sometimes it. Now from there you got to go to 1. So that takes time. So if it is a serious problem, like I said, the drinking and all, make sure you don't go into an environment where that desire comes up to its full potential because there's no chance there. No chance. Not you, anybody. Whichever area. You're weak. In fact, that's what he says in the 23rd verse, which we'll get to probably when we do. Who can withstand that vega, that force of desire? That person is the real spiritual who's able to do it. So all of you here, when you hear these concepts, you're inspired and you say, yes, but because your other desires right now are all latent, unmanifest. When those come up, which Vedanta, Anta, it's Anta. Vedanta is, Anta means end. Vedanta itself is ended. No, what can you do? All the other nonsense begins. Gabby, what's your question for today?
To clarify, I'm deeply appreciative of the distinction, this is my ignorance, between intelligence and intellect. I have so often used my intelligence to fight Maya, the world, or to win. I did not know, I was not aware of something different from intelligence. Intelligence seems to be spawned by feelings, emotions, reactions to the past, the fear. And I'm learning just now that I can step back from that, and unveiled will be this cooler thought. And I just so appreciate seeing a distinction now. I can discern that my mind is not all there is. If there's anything, I'm sure we're going to be studying this more, but anything you might add succinctly to the distinction between intellect and intelligence, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, see, first of all, the intellect itself has two functions. One is to gain information from the world. Even for that, you need to apply your thinking, right? To be able to understand information. A person goes to medical school, he gains a lot of information about medicine. What is a disease, how to treat it, etc., right? That is intelligence. And then he trades that intelligence in exchange for a fee. So when you go to a doctor, what are you doing? You don't have that information. He has it. So you go there, he gives you the information and sends you a nice bill for it. Right? That is, everybody does that. That's what you're doing in your job. You are selling your information for your salary. Right? A plumber comes, he's got information, knowledge of plumbing, which you don't know. You have to pay him for it. That's what the world is built on, intelligence. So all the universities have become, unfortunately, mere intelligence factories. So the world doesn't know anything. So thousands of years ago, Vedanta gave a clear distinction. Buddhi So he says the intellect is not meant just for intelligence. Intellect should be used to be able to control your emotions. That is real intellect. So, for example, I know a doctor who's very intelligent, he knows all medicine, but he can't control his desire for alcohol. And he's lost his license, he's lost his family, he's lost his home. One of the great tragedies. A highly intelligent person, topped his medical school. You see the difference? If you don't have an intellect, all the intelligence of the world will not save you. So people are so intelligent. You know, the people in the jail for insider trading, corporate fraud, all super degrees, all best universities, best degrees, and if you see their resumes, highly intelligent people, but no intellect. When the greed comes, you couldn't control it. So Vedanta will build you a powerful intellect with which you can control your mind and use your intelligence correctly in this world for the benefit of others, not just yourself. So what else you want?
Thank you.
So you're right. People just use intelligence to cater to their feelings. You have a desire for money. It's a feeling. It's a desire. And you're using your intelligence all your life to acquire more money. You're using your intelligence to manipulate people in your relationship so they cater more to you. So everybody is using their intelligence just to fulfill their selfish desires, which is why they succeed. Because most people don't even use that. They just go by feeling. Vedanta is talking at a completely different level altogether, which is unknown in this world. So you're right. In the world, either whether Western or Eastern is not the point. They all consider everything one mind. Nobody understands there are two things. Intellect, which can control your mind. So that is why this, in fact, where we are, you're asking that. So when we begin, now I think next time we'll be on the final chapter of the Vedanta treatise, which in fact, even those of you who are not attending, you should attend the final chapter because it summarizes the whole philosophy. But after that, we'll restart the book. So the Vedanta treatise, he talks about this right from the beginning, this distinction. Because the whole spiritual journey is about building your intellect. Intelligence you all have enough. You can build that also more. Nobody is saying no. That will also be replaced by artificial. That's why I call artificial intelligence, right? AI. How long you'll fight against that? But AI or NI, natural intelligence, is all nothing compared to intellect. That's the real power you have. Which are not used. That's why this AI all of you talk about is what is it? That a machine can get far more information than a human. So it's a question of time. How much ever information you'll have, one touch button will have more, right? But intellect who has? You want to control that, you need intellect, right? So you see all the leaders, CEOs, everywhere in the world, all are just going by their minds. Very intelligent people, no doubt, but all led by their own desires. So destroying the world. True leader rises above their own desires. That's a leader. And works for that means intellect, benefit of society. Aishani Shah is requesting meeting questions. Should I enable or disable? Why am I getting this? Mitadu? Why is she messaging me? Aishani, since you've been denied so long by these people, please ask. Why are you denying her? She has to send me a message requesting. Where is she? Are you there? You left, is it? Sorry, I didn't realize it was so bad. Manjula?
Hari Om Gautamji. I have a question regarding, is there any yardstick for figuring out that whether you're just being selfish or is your family expecting too much from you? Like when you say about unfulfilled desire, it causes agitation in your mind. More unfulfilled desire, the stronger the agitation. Is there anything like that to know whether you're really being selfish or you're just not meeting their expectations? Their expectations too much?
It's very difficult because it all depends on the strength of your intellect. See, what you have to understand, this is the intellect, right? So, what is intellect? Intellect is the power to reason apart from your mind's emotions. Now, who has that? So, either you are going by your mind's emotions, or whatever intellect you have is held captured by the mind. It's so strong. So, it makes your intellect reason in favor of the mind. This is called justification, rationalization, right? So, if you are too attached, there's no chance, because whatever intellect you have, your mind will make you reason in favor of the desire. After all, they are my children. My children. How many lives you have, children? One life only, no? You want more lives for same children? No, one life only it will be. So you will justify anything.
That's the problem, especially if it's
I know it's the problem. I am giving you your autobiography only. I am not talking about me. I'm talking about you. So it's a common problem. So don't worry, nothing to do with you. So what happens is you have to build your intellect to come to a point of that. Before that, the way to do it is in areas where you know you have a weak, where your desire is very powerful. Before you get into the situation, step back and analyze. That's the best you can do. And if it's a really, it's a situation which is, what do you call this? Dangerous, or something which can have bad consequences. It's a severe problem. Then you have to consult a person who can think apart from your mind, right? See, either you don't have an intellect. When you don't, you go and consult somebody who has a better intellect, who can look at you objectively. That's your guru or guide. Especially in areas where it's a real problem. Means, what do you call it? Life and death is also like, not life and death, but a serious issue, right? Which can affect your life. You don't have to now, should I drink apple juice or cranberry juice? Let me call my guru. If that fellow nothing else to do, not worth having a person like that. But if it is a serious issue, very serious, then you should have somebody who has a better intellect than you to consult. Otherwise, you're treading in dangerous waters. Vikram?
Gautamji, there is a question from Jay. If ancient societies were more attuned to self-knowledge, why does Krishna say only one among thousands achieves perfection?
By the time of Krishna, it was no longer the Vedic society. It had already deteriorated quite a bit. So, there was tremendous unrighteousness by the time when Krishna was living. Kauravas, you know what was happening. All kinds of things happening in the society then. So, by then itself, the golden age had passed. In fact, the Gita was written to explain the Upanishads. Upanishads is the philosophy of the Vedas, the original textbooks. So, by the time of the Gita, people could no longer understand. So, that's why the entire Gita was composed, to put that knowledge in simple language. So that's why he says, even by then, the whole society had gone down. Now I don't think he would have said 1 in 1,000 also, 1 in 1,000,000. No? 1 in 1,000,000 means how many? 8 billion today? 1 in 1,000,000 would be 8,000. Are there 8,000 people in this entire world aspiring for enlightenment? I don't think so. Trust me. If you are, you're definitely one of 8,000. So 80,000 may be interested. 8,000 would be seriously interested. But in self-development, enlightenment would be even less, far less. That's the proportion. What do you do? So, before we end today, we are approaching the end of the year. And for the benefit of those who've been not attending for a long time, so as you know, all these lectures and classes and events are all free, and we are sustained by a non-profit foundation. So at the end of the year, we send out a note to all of you, because it's not just the expenses here. We also support the academy in India, which is the global home of this knowledge. I studied there 10 years, and that's why I'm able to come and teach you. So we support it. Like, for example, this year we did the whole solar paneling for the academy. Next year we plan to, a lot of floods this year, so a lot of restoration work is going to go on. So like that, we keep helping the students, alumni, the rest, the projects. So we'll send out an email today, you'll get it. So read it, and whatever each one can do to support this cause of Vedanta is helpful, because the whole thing is supported by donations from people like yourself. Okay? So we will, any questions, we meet on Wednesday. For the Q&A, please email them to us. We'll take it up. Otherwise, we'll meet on the weekend. Hari Om.